Hello, good afternoon. My name is Randall, and as you probably are well aware of, I am a friend on your friends list on Facebook. And today we have a few topics of discussion of which I would care to enlighten you. They are primarily dealing with American fiscal policy because I believe personally that America is on a path which is not in its best interest. We've got some fucked up shit going on in Congress. We've got a lot of individuals who are dealing with the economy and fucking it up worse than it already is. So, that being said, let's discuss a few issues that could be improved, areas of improvement, if you will, in the bureaucratic system. Let's start with the current administration and their advocation of raising taxes on the wealthiest and most affluent members within our given society. Because that right there is an illogical fallacy in and of itself, and it's going to lead to the degradation, the continual degradation of our society. I believe that's very, very, very important, and a lot of people don't realize that. They like this notion of you take from the wealthy, you give to the poor. You know, the highest individuals in society, the 250,000 and more per year, well, they can bear the burden imposed upon them and pay a little bit more in taxes. Well, in theory, that sounds good. Because right now, I'm sure that most of you are not well aware of the fact that we are coming very, very close to an impending fiscal cliff, as they like to dub it. And what that is an inability right now to come to an agreement on the extension of the Bush-era tax cuts. And if this fiscal cliff, which is going to expire at the end of the year, is not dealt with and extended, what is going to happen is there's going to be a dramatic tax increase for most of society, virtually everybody within our given society in this American capitalist system. Okay. The Obama administration right now are advocating an increase in the tax rate on the wealthiest individuals in society under the idea, the notion that they are the individuals who are most able to afford the additional tax burden imposed upon them, and it will help alleviate the national deficit, or at least the discrepancy. It's not going to alleviate the trillions and trillions and trillions we're in debt. It's not even going to come close, and to even be presumptuous enough to insinuate that to the American people is disingenuous at best. You're a lying motherfucker. Okay. Now, the problem with that is people don't think of it logically. They think it's a good idea. Don't let the poor people pay taxes as high as the rich people. You're richer, you've got more money, you should pay a higher burden of taxes. Well, that sounds great theoretically, but in truth, rich people really don't pay taxes to begin with, not like the poor people do, because there are tax loopholes which they get out of. Generally speaking, the most affluent and richest individuals within our given society are the individuals who own what's known as the means of production. They own the factories, the McDonald's, they own whatever produces capital. They own the capital. Okay? The less affluent individuals, the individuals lower on the socioeconomic totem pole, if you will, are the common workers such as you and I. And the problem with raising the tax rate on the highest and most affluent individuals within our society is the fact that they offset this increased taxation to the consumer within the commodities that they produce. Let's say I own John Deere and I'm making lawnmowers. And you've decided, your current administration, as far as its fiscal philosophy, to increase my tax burden. What am I going to do? Well, I'm probably going to take the commodity of which I produce, in this case being John Deere lawnmowers, and I'm going to exponentially increase the cost of each individual lawnmower. What does that mean in layman's terms? That means that the consumer, the average consumer, you and I, the blue-collar workers of society, are going to pay the additional cost of this taxation through an increase in the cost of virtually every item within society. You'll see an exponential influx in the cost of consumer commodities that you would otherwise not see. Take, and this is a little off topic right now, but it logically follows as well as far as the given logic ideology of individuals who own the means of production. if they are being imposed upon by the federal government to provide health care to all their workers, what does that mean to them? Well, they still want to generate profit within their given market, so they're going to increase the cost of the commodity to pay the additional cost of health care for their workers. Or they're going to escape the mandated provisions by lowering the available hours that they're allocating toward each individual worker. Instead of having 100 workers at full time, they're going to slice their hours to part time so they don't have to cover them under Obamacare. Bet you never thought about that, Congress. That's the problem with neoliberalism in the democratic process today. Everybody wants something for free, but they don't want to take the time to use the critical thinking process to really contemplate the ramifications and implications of their actions. Fiscal policy has long-term actions on the economy, and people don't realize that. And what's sad is you blindly trust the most inept individuals you could possibly place your faith in to have complete control over the course of this economy, the direction in which we are going. God help us all. Now, let's say Obamacare, for instance. I own John Deere once again. I've got 100 workers that are working full-time, and under the provisions stated in Obamacare, I now have to provide health care insurance for all of them. What am I going to do? I'm going to get around that by lowering their hours so they're part-time. That way I don't have to insure them. Simultaneously increasing the cost of the given commodity they produce. Bam, lawnmowers. That way the additional cost is offset by you, the humble consumer. And I thank you very much, because this is how the process will work. But people don't realize it. They think, oh, it's great, health care for everybody. Here's the thing. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I know that's like an amazing concept, so let me reiterate it. There is nothing in this world, people, for free. Nothing, okay? Now, in a capitalist society that we're in, what is the incentive to go out and risk your money to be an entrepreneur? To create a supply for a given demand within the market? Well, the incentive is profit, okay? And the current administration believes that they can alleviate this discrepancy in the national deficit by increasing capital gains taxes and maintaining the highest, which we currently have, the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. Well, do you know what that does to the investment population within our country? It makes them go abroad. They decide, well, I have $100,000. I could stay and invest my money in America, where the minimum wage is much higher than in China, and pay the highest corporate tax rate in the world, in the industrialized world, and then get hit with additional capital gains taxes for my investors. Or I could go abroad and keep a lot more of my money because I'm having to pay less corporate taxes. The rate isn't as high in foreign countries. And capital gains taxes aren't as high, so I would probably have a much easier time acquiring additional capital by investors, because they're going to be interested in the fact that they're investing within a sovereign state with a lower capital gains tax. Do you see what we're doing? We're setting ourselves up for failure, fiscally speaking. With a capital gains tax that is dissuading investment within our given economy, we're dissuading the continuation of and creation of additional American jobs, for the fact that our corporate tax rate's so high, everybody wants to go abroad. So you would be a fool to stay in America when you can make more money, because remember, that is the underlying incentive, to make as much money as possible, as easily as possible. And if you're going to make less money here in America, then, well, logically, let's go somewhere else, make a little bit more money, right? People don't realize that. They think, well, government, they're intelligent individuals. They know how to spend our money better than we do. And here's my problem with the current democracy that we're under, which is swiftly falling apart, people. If you're not, realizing that, then wake up, please. You're wasting your time. Okay, the problem is that the American people are so incredibly inept and so ignorant. They are being bribed, literally, with their own money. Okay? It's no different than a politician being in the candy store saying, I'm going to give you everything in the candy store. People, Let me ask you this. How do they get their money? They get it through taxation. They tax you. And then that's how they generate their revenue. So when they offer all these government subsidized programs and assistance programs for those in the lower socioeconomic classes, they're bribing you for your vote with your own money. That's what they're doing. You're voting yourselves into the candy shop. People don't realize, where we're heading in the general direction of our economy. They see it's going bad. They see constantly the stock market's down, NASDAQ's down, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Which, by the way, if you don't know much about the stock markets, go with a larger index rather than a smaller index as an indication of the general stability or instability of a given market. The reason being is take the Dow Jones Industrial Average. There are 30 of the largest corporations in the American economy represented on the Dow Jones. Okay? And people think that it is like the end-all be-all. It's not. And for the fact that you could take a larger index, such as Standard & Poor 500, that has the largest 500 corporations. Okay? So it gives a better idea, a better indication as to the general direction of the economy in which it's heading. If you see the Dow Jones drop 4%, but the S&P 500 drop 2%, we're not as bad in shape as you'd like to believe. Because, of course, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is going to be more volatile. It's only composed of 30 corporations. So, go with the larger indexes, first of all. But regardless, the current state we're in, they're all going down. They're all going in the shithole. And you're thinking, well, why? Why is that? Well, what you don't realize is that the Federal Reserve and the government, the administrations in power have immense ability to sway the direction of the economy in regard to investment, to either induce or dissuade investment. Right now, our current administration is dissuading it. They're sending jobs abroad. Inadvertently, I'll bet. Inadvertently. They're not intentionally doing it, but they are through their fiscal policy, through their increases in the corporate tax rate, and their maintenance of this incredibly high capital gains tax rate. Okay? If I'm an investor and I realize that for ever how much money I'm making on my particular stocks or bonds or whatever I'm investing in, it's going to be taxed exponentially higher than in a given economy within another market, in another foreign state. I'm going to go abroad. Okay? I'm not even going to, if I am an entrepreneur, I'm not even going to create a company and employ people within the U.S. because of the corporate tax rate, which, I will reiterate one more time, is the highest in the industrialized world. So, you're thinking, well, we're in debt. We're trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and the current administration would like to alleviate some of this debt, offset it through, increased taxation. That's not how you stimulate the economy. That's not how you build a robust economy, Congress. It's time you wake up. It's time the American people wake up, honestly, because they're getting not only manipulated in the fact that they're being bought, they're literally being bribed with their own money, but they're so ignorant, they don't even know what's going on. And they're wholeheartedly trusting the individuals in power who are leading us off this cliff. Now, why are the stock markets going down right now? Two main reasons. First and foremost is the impending fiscal cliff. And the current administration saying that they have no intentions whatsoever in negotiations in regard to extending the Bush-era tax cuts for the wealthier members of society, okay? So the wealthiest members of society, they're getting a little iffy. They know that these tax rates are going to be imposed upon them, so the investors are thinking, well, higher tax rates, I better take my money somewhere else. Another reason, Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, has proposed raising the debt ceiling once more. Okay? And this is what gets me the most, that Congress and these politicians think, well, we're $14 billion in debt, which it's really trillion, but we're going to say $14 billion just to simplify it for you. Let's not use those big numbers. They might confuse some of you out there. We're $14 billion in debt. Let's raise the debt ceiling and borrow more money. Let me ask you a question. If you're in debt, does borrowing more money get you out of debt? Literally. No. And let me tell you why it's not. Because we're having to continually print more money and throw more money within our given economy, and that's decreasing the value of the dollar, continually decreasing it, because the more money we print, the more available supply there is of a particular bill, the less value it has. It goes back to the theory of supply and demand in Adam Smith in 1776. Okay? He wrote an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. You should try reading it sometime. It's a really good book. You might gain something. You might gain a little understanding of supply and demand and how it can adversely affect the economy if you're not careful, if you create too much. Such as too much money, which we are continually printing. No worries, no worries. There are some things we could do to stimulate the economy. First and foremost, we need to lower the corporate tax rate, okay? Because that's going to spur investment. Individuals are going to bring back jobs that they've sent abroad, bring them back to America where they can make more money. Then we need to lower the capital gains tax, because if you can make more money within our given economy through investment, logically you're induced to do that because everybody wants to make money. That's the purpose of the capitalist system. So if we do that, we would definitely see improvements. Now, another, and this is going to be absolutely shocking, a shocking revelation. We have to control our spending, government, okay? It's time the American people wake up and realize that you can't spend your way out of debt. Keynesian economics is a fallacy. It doesn't work. You can listen to the current administration advocate investment in infrastructure all you want, but here's the bottom line, okay? Think of it this way. You're the government and you're trying to alleviate high unemployment rates through government expenditures, through investing money, right? Well, the only money that you can acquire, the only revenue that you generate is through the taxation of the people. So any job that you create, government job, can only be maintained temporarily, given the fact that to maintain it indefinitely requires a continual and indefinite taxation upon the people to pay for the government job. The problem with that, Keynesian economics, is that you are expanding the public sector, government jobs. And in doing so, you're simultaneously restricting and constricting the private sector, which is where you want to create your jobs, government. Okay, this is going out to all the politicians, all those who are politically inclined, anybody who's willing to listen, because you're probably not understanding what's going on. You're reading that the stock market continues to go down. You've heard something about a fiscal cliff in Congress, and they need to work that out. Well, the stock markets are going down because they know that there is going to be virtually no compromise. The liberals wanting to raise taxes, the Republicans wanting to lower taxes on the highest paid members of society. Okay? So chances are, in my personal opinion, we are going to go over the fiscal cliff. The tax rate is going to increase exponentially for all members of society, because I don't see the GOP conceding either, and Obama's already said he wouldn't. So you're going to continually see the stock market decrease, okay? Another reason is the political turmoil in the Middle East. The violence raging in the Middle East does affect the stock market, okay? The reason being is because we are a globalized world. We are interdependent economically on other sovereign states, other economies. So if there is violence and war raging in, let's say, the Middle East, that can affect gas prices. Oh, okay. What's the good thing about gas prices? Gas prices, as you so very well know, affect the ability to transport goods, consumer items. So, let's recap. This is my proposal, my economic philosophy. I know, startling, isn't it? Harry Reid, don't raise the debt ceiling, okay? You can't borrow your way out of debt with other people's money. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way, logically. It's fucked up. If I were $1,000 in debt, borrowing another $10,000 is not gonna get me out of debt, because I'm still originally $1,000 in debt. Now I'm an additional $10,000. Holy fuck, I'm $11,000 in debt. And going out and spending $11,000 out of borrowed is not gonna get me out of debt. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, I know. It's fucked up. I'm an asshole. Now, definitely lower the corporate tax rate, Because there's the incentive. There's the incentive. The whole capitalist ideology. Go out, invest your money, make something of yourself. Now, corporate tax rate, down. Capital tax rate, capital gains tax rate, down. Okay? And you will see an improvement within the given economy because there will be investment. What happens when there's investment? What happens when there are entrepreneurs who create companies and then go public and they are investors to invest capital into this company? There's an expansion, okay? Thus the creation of jobs. That is the essence of the creation of jobs. Because once you have the particular supply of the given commodity and additional revenue, you expand productive capacity to create more money. It goes back to the greed of capitalism. Yes, it is inherently a greedy economic philosophy, but it works, and you're destroying it. So, if you want to see improvements, leave the wealthy people alone, because they happen to employ just about everybody. So, I believe I've said my piece for now. I've tried to state it as simplistically as I could. I didn't want to get too elaborate. I could break it down so much better. I could be as formal and as eloquent as you want in my rhetoric, but then you're not really going to be able to understand the concepts, okay? Because you have to understand the science of economics requires abstract thinking, and not a lot of people are used to abstract, profound thought or critical thinking. It's just something that's not necessary in today's given society, and it's not utilized. So, I do very much appreciate everyone who was kind enough to allow me to rant and rave for 22 minutes, almost 22 minutes, on economic fiscal policy in the current administration and the degradation of capitalism in contemporary society. I know it's something not a lot of people get into, but I do. So, thank you. Once again, I appreciate your time, and good luck. God bless America. Trying to get this thing off, yeah? I'm having difficulty turning it off, so you might have to bear with me another minute. Ah.